So, Eric, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and then take it away. We usually shut things down at quarter to the top of the hour, so 11:45 in Mountain Time. But between then and now, you've got a presentation and Q&A. So, take it away.
Sounds good. All right. Well, if I've got bags under my eyes, it's because it is currently 1 a.m. I am out in Southeast Asia, in Bali with a business partner. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. That is no excuse though, because I know we have a number of our coconut VAs that are the exact same time zone, and we are all up right now. Um, my name is Eric. I have two business histories under my belt that really lead to today's subject, which is how to teach anyone anything. I started out when I was just in college as a student trying to run businesses, and I was the lone wolf type person. And I have since transitioned to growing a team, selling my first company, Venture Validator. And then I've got my co-founder Tyler here on the call. We started then Coconut VA, a virtual assistant agency. And there was a very stark difference between how we did Venture Validator and how we did Coconut VA. We grew Coconut VA to over $2 million ARR in, I think, 20 months. And the crowning achievement is that the entire team that we had was virtual assistants based in the Philippines. And then within 6 months of training my executive assistant, she actually took my place as the CEO, and she's been the acting CEO for the last year and a half and has seen the company triple in size. And that's allowed me to travel to 25 countries, be time zone independent, be able to fully recluse into my genius zone. And right now I'm writing books, doing retreats, and kind of preparing for the next stage of growth. So today's conversation is going to be all about how do you do that? How do you start from zero and be able to have all the things in place so that you can replace yourself? And a lot of that is going to be the mindsets, tools, and frameworks for how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I do not have a PowerPoint presentation. Because that's not how entrepreneurs think. A lot of us think visually. So I've got kind of a big mind map here that I would like to cover as much as we have time for. And with that, I'm going to be talking a little bit quicker because I know you guys want meat. You guys want real stuff instead of fluff. Yeah, jumping into really my story is like a lot of you, starting out, I really didn't have much experience as an employee, but I did have this ego that I was the important person. Nobody else could do what I did. I was quite skilled at my first business. And I then kind of woke up one day and realized that it was that ego that was holding me back. And if you think that you're the smartest person in the room, you're going to be right because anybody who's smarter than you is not going to enter that room. And so the whole idea is how do you get from being the person that everyone depends on to replacing yourself? And I had a lot of unique circumstances. I mean, I guess it's really not that unique. Most entrepreneurs are poor. When I started out, I was all I could afford was interns. Actually, Tyler started out as an unpaid intern. Now my co-founder now, which is kind of crazy. But it was just a revolving door. And so we started working with Filipino virtual assistants. Actually, Hannah, who is now one of Midday Connect's virtual assistants, was my very first VA. And I kind of thought, okay, if we can teach people from the Philippines how to do the things that we're doing, then really we can teach anything. And if you can do that, then you can scale quite quickly. We ran into some things where sales was very difficult until we kind of got out of some mindsets. So I have some tactics that we're going to go over today to show how to do that. And then ultimately, the crowning achievement is having my executive assistant become the CEO, and how that actually happens. Well, it all starts with mindsets first. So as an entrepreneur, your job is not to do the operations and it's not to do the management. It's to be the visionary. So you need to get to your visionary role and you are like the startup CEO and you want to hand off things to scale up CEOs. And in order to do that, you have to go through this process. But the very first thing you have to do is let go of ego. I always say that I am the least important person in the company. And ironically, that is what makes me the most important person in the company. Or just that attitude that you make yourself replaceable. And that is what allows you to go. And a lot of people, especially employees, want to hold on to their responsibilities because that's how they find importance. And if you do that, that's just a scarcity mindset and you're not going to be able to grow. Another mindset is that anyone can do what you do as long as they had the same history and the same skills. So you're not special. I mean, Taylor Bench, love you. He's not special. If anybody grew up in Taylor's shoes and saw the same experiences Taylor has seen and had the same skills that Taylor had, they'd be able to do what Taylor has done. So the question is, how can we have that happen quicker? A lot of people think that experience comes with age. It doesn't. Experience comes with repetition. I was able to teach and be a college professor before I even had my undergraduate degree. It wasn't because I had age that accumulated. It's just because of you do one thing again and again and again, you start noticing patterns. As entrepreneurs, we are visionaries. What is visionaries? It's actually not looking at the future, it's looking at the past. And we're recognizing patterns from the past, and then we're projecting that into the future. So we really need to tap into our pattern recognition ability and say, okay, how can I show somebody else the same amount of patterns in a shorter amount of time? And how can I find somebody that has the right aptitude? And then you can find somebody who can do exactly what Taylor Bench does, but it doesn't take them 40 some odd years to be able to do that. It's much, much quicker. Okay, the next thing is creating a doomsday vault, and I'll show that in a second. The idea is that you want to take all the knowledge from your company and be putting it in a company wiki. I call it a doomsday vault, so that if you're looking to hire someone else in the same role, you have all that training done. And the degree to which you create that that training, I call the tour bus principle. We just took all of our VAs, 100 of them, out to an island in the Philippines. We actually rented a whole entire plane out, and I guess we could use that example. If that plane went down, is there a way that if someone just had a password to our doomsday vault, that they could essentially run the entire company? Everything from hiring new people to the actual operations of the company, all the way to the management. And so what does that actually look like as you're putting together training? I keep mine here in Monday.com. And when somebody comes in, let's say that Judy comes in and I'm going to add these spaces for her. Here's all these trainings. The very first thing is it's going to teach her how to use this project management system. And then she's an account executive. So I'm going to go down to the account executive. And here are all of the things that she needs to know to do her job. And if you just open this up, there's going to be Loom videos. Let's see. There's going to be Loom videos. There's going to be process maps. All of these things sequentially stored. And literally, if you had the password to this, you would be able to run the company because it's that detailed. So that's the very first thing. Personal mindsets. We need to replace ourselves, because if you can replace yourself, then you can scale, you can sail, or you can step back. The second thing is going to be, yes, you can teach anyone to do anything, but it's wise to teach other people that have the aptitude. And so the arbitrage is in the aptitude, not the experience. We have a lot of Coconut VAs. I mean, Summit Ventures has 6 Coconut VAs. Some of them are venture analysts. They've never been venture analysts before. And the whole arbitrage is finding people that have those genius zones that have the ability. It's almost like a stat for video game. Here's all the stats. Yeah, they have the capability, but then you have to have somebody who actually plays the video game to be able to do the thing. So many people get focused on resumes, and instead we're trying to look for what are their core skill sets, because we can give them experience quickly that allows them to be successful. And then the last thing is you have to give people an abundance mentality so that they can hit their autonomy. A lot of our VAs are doing management type roles, and it's because you got to break them out of these things. And if you're trying to replace yourself, you need the people under you to feel confident and competent in being able to replace you, and giving them an abundance mentality, which allows them to make mistakes and actually take ownership over the roles that they would typically defer to you on. So with that, some practical tools for doing your training. I love Mural. What you're looking at right now is Mural. It's very good for entrepreneurs that think, especially dyslexically. And it's really good for process maps. I always like to show pictures. I think you can learn quicker with pictures. So day one, people come into the company. This is for my last company that I sold. Here's a process map that shows every single thing from here's prospecting, here's a message being sent, here's the email being sent, here's a website visit, here's how the leads go through the whole funnel, here's the sales call, here's the onboarding survey, all of the things that are needed in a company. Mural is a really great way to show people this quickly and visually, as opposed to something like Figma that is going to be just wireframes that nobody wants to read, nobody's going to really understand. Your people can understand a lot of things very quickly if you have screenshots. And so Mural is probably my favorite tool for this. The next one I would say, some type of project management system. Monday.com is a great one. We have all of our training stored in there. Loom, just doing a lot of screen recordings. Most of our training actually is going to be a Loom video of a mural, or a Loom video of us actually doing the process, and that's quite helpful. Now, one of my co-founders actually uses Loom to make a video, takes the transcript from Loom, puts it into ChatGPT, and then has ChatGPT clean it up and condense it, and then also provides a text file as well. And then that gets stored in our Doomsday Vault. And then the last thing that I really like is Volley. I'm so happy to say that Volley is back up and live. Essentially, it is Marco Polo, or like a video walkie-talkie app, and Slack. If they had a baby, that's Volley. And it's really, really good for asynchronous communication, where you can screen share your phone, your laptop, and be able to show people stuff real time or allow them to process it later. Okay, the next thing I want to go over is just a couple of practical frameworks. These ones we might go over in the Q&A. If anyone wants to know how to train people for sales, for identifying their ideal customer target market, we can do that. We can also go over the startup planning stages framework. Founders make a lot of mistakes by delegating too soon, and there's a specific 9-step framework to actually know when you can delegate. But right now I want to go over just the framework for how do you actually teach something brand new. So there's really 4 stages that I've kind of broken this up. There's delegating tasks. These are to operators. It's the simplest thing. There's then delegating management, which is a lot harder, delegating micro vision, and then delegating macro vision. So with tasks, a lot of things can be done in Mural, Loom videos, identifying the steps, using ChatGPT, making a checklist. But then here's a really important part is give examples. The only reason why you are experienced is because you've been at your company longer, that you've seen a lot of things happen. Okay, can you take, let's, for example, maybe you've been doing sales for your company for 6 months. That's great. If you're a startup, you probably have only seen, I don't know, 25, 30 sales calls come in that 6 months. You should have a Zoom recording of each one of those calls, and you can store that in your training system now. And now in a matter of 1 week or 2 weeks, you can have a new account executive go in, watch every single one of those sales videos, they now have just as much experience as you have, but it didn't take 6 months, it only took 6 days. And so you're always giving people examples, but then you're helping them learn by what are the good, bad, and mediocre ways that examples of people who are doing the job, so they can learn from those mistakes and spot the difference so they can check their own work. And then speaking of checking their own work, give them practice homework. So for any type of task you're doing, in our training module, we have some type of practice homework where they can go ahead and try it out. And then we have answers that they can check and they can learn. We're then giving them feedback. And then we're storing even the feedback that we give them in our training vault. That way, other people that are coming in the future can go ahead and look at that training, see the feedback, see how they made mistakes, and they can learn without it taking founder time to teach the same thing again. So with that, then you go ahead and you have them try the real thing. Let your new employee attempt the process by themselves, review it, and then you add rules and steps and have them do it again. And once you get a perfect result, which is probably going to take about 3 times, I say the very first time you make a Loom video, you're probably going to teach 75% of the process. They're then going to go ahead and follow it, and you're going to say, oh my gosh, I gave them 6 steps. I forgot there's actually 9 steps. You're going to go ahead and add those steps there, and then they're going to get maybe 85% correct. But then weird scenarios come up, and that last 15% takes time to really smooth out. So don't start out trying to have this perfect training, because it takes way too much time. You're not going to be able to use it as soon as your employee actually applies it, because you're going to be thinking of new things. And so this can be a very messy process. Once you get a perfect result, go ahead and have the employee recreate the training so that it's clean and concise. And that's something that's off your plate. And again, that's one of the steps of, see one, do one, teach one, allow them to create the training that paves a smoother path for the next person that steps into that role. So that is delegating tasks. For delegating management, how did we teach Donna, my executive assistant, to be the CEO, to run the company? You need to give them, they first need to know your routines. What are all the things that you do? So I actually had a routine board that we used in the beginning. This is on Monday.com. Here were all of the daily tasks and the people that I would check up on. And essentially all of these people were on Monday, they would click their daily task if they had done it or if they hadn't. And then you could see if they hadn't done it, as a manager, she would then be able to know to check up on those things. So we had daily tasks, here were the weekly tasks, and then here are the monthly tasks, and here are the quarterly. This is all the management stuff. And now I didn't have to worry about that because I had somebody that's going over each of these things. And now it's very obvious. Got a company of 10 people, who's not doing their work, what needs to happen with that. And that's one tool that I used. Other things, just giving them meeting frameworks, giving them management principles, giving them an authority threshold. What decisions are they allowed to make without needing to come to you? And then having a review at the end of each week for those decisions they made, and not reprimanding them if they made mistakes, but just saying, okay, let's go ahead and change this for the future. So that's delegating management. As far as vision, there's really 2 types of vision. There's micro vision, there's macro vision. As the visionary, as the founder, you are in charge of setting all vision. But if you have a strong enough vision and you can create a strong enough culture and a strong enough mission statement, and you set clear objectives, you can allow somebody to actually do that micro vision. Proof of this is we just had 100 people fly out to Boracay, which is an island in the Philippines. The retreat cost $60,000, and Tyler, myself, and George, us co-founders, had no idea what the agenda was going to be. We had no idea who was doing what. And Donna had enough of a strong culture, mission, and objectives, and she managed the entire thing. We showed up. It was a great 3-day event. It went without a hitch. And that's because you're empowering people to have that type of microvision. The last thing before we turn into Q&A is delegating macro vision. And I'll be honest, I'm still learning. I don't know exactly how to do that yet, but I know that that absolutely can be done. And so we're all on a process as we continue to learn how to outsource all of the operations, all of the management, so that we can really step back as owners, as visionaries. But I think even at that point, there's got to be progression. And so I will have another Midday Connect once we get to that point. Um, Last tips. Whenever you're trying to train somebody, it's easier to do it yourself one more time than it is to train somebody. And so we say, I don't want to spend 25 minutes teaching somebody when it's only going to take me 7 minutes to do it myself. I agree with you. Go ahead and do it yourself one more time, but just hit record on Loom. And yeah, it might be a little bit awkward that you got to go pull a file open and there's this dead space, but your time is worth $500 an hour, or at least you need to have that mindset that your time is worth $500 an hour. So if you have an employee or a virtual assistant worth 10, 15, $25 an hour, your time is infinitely more valuable and scarce in that economic context. So what if it takes you 2 minutes on the recording to go pull a file open for the next step? Your training is not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be freeing your time up. And so you need to be very, very strong-willed and not feeling bad for having poor flow in this. And then yeah, once they've gone through a couple times, then you can go ahead and make a perfect video or have them do it. But this perfectionism, this I'm the only one that can do this, all of that ego, all of that is really just going to stop you from actually getting to the point where you're isolated in your genius zone and you're owning the vision, which right now, I guess maybe there's a little ego. That is the only thing that you can do as a founder. That is the only thing that you can't actually delegate. And that's where should be spending all of your time living, because then you're able to really make change in the world in the way that you are wanting to employ people. And that is the most rewarding part of life. And it's all possible when you allow people to actually replace you in every other area. So with that, I'd like to open this up to Q&A, and I've got some frameworks if anyone has any questions on specific ways to go about and categorize difficult things, such as how to identify stuff for sales. What are the 5 main functions that founders outsource? How do you start from founder delegation through having a scale-up CEO? And if there's any questions on startup planning, I'd be also happy to answer that.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Amazing as always. The first thing I learned was that I relearned that I am not special. So I appreciate that. Any questions that anybody has, you can feel free to throw them in the chat, and or come off mute. We can put a Q in the chat though, if you've got questions that you'd like to have answered. Maybe while people are putting their questions in the chat, Eric, you could answer a question that I had around what is the biggest mistake you see people making when trying to train team members?
They don't own the vision. So when you're looking at, as a founder, you own the vision and you have to figure everything out. Your core competency is learning. You might be slower at doing operations than somebody, but you need to be able to know how to do most of the core functions in your job until you can hire somebody to do it. And I see a lot of times people try to hire a virtual assistant or even an executive in a certain area of their company, outsourcing the problem of we don't have a system that actually runs this correctly. And so then it ends up failing. So for example, oh, let me just go hire an SDR and they'll just do a bunch of cold calls and be able to close. And they've never had anybody ever do that before. And as a founder, you need to go through the stages of having vision fuel where you have inspiration for something, and then you have a vision vomit where you then describe this. I describe this to my co-founder. Hey, here's my vision vomit. I usually have a mural. And then you're getting vision validation. and you're testing the financial viability of it, the product market fit of it. Does it align with the company goals? From there, you're implementing the vision. So you're creating system blueprints, you're doing the front end, the back end, you're integrating it. And then here's the key part is that you need to do the operations as the founder for the first 5 to 10 customers at least, maybe even 20. And then you're having the ability to make tweaks for product market fit, tweaks to the systems, and then you go to outsourcing operations, and that's when you should be hiring. So a lot of people have an idea of, oh, I want to build this. Let me go ahead and hire somebody to do it. And really, your job is at least 1 through 6, doing the prep work before you go ahead and do that.
That's awesome. Another question came up in the chat. Who created all the info in Monday and how long did it take?
We all create it. It's kind of crowdsourced. Whenever a new function comes up, I just say, hey, make sure you go make a video on Monday on how to do that. And so it's just a cleanliness thing that always happens. So you start out small. As a founder, here's the 5 main functions that you need to outsource. The first thing you're probably doing is operations and customer service. And so that's the one thing. And don't try to do everything at once. Do one thing, delegate that one thing, and then make sure that you have feedback and that it's working. Then awesome. Now I'm going to go ahead and move to sales or marketing. Because if you're still in the sale, then you're also in the customer service. If your name is on an email doing sales, you're going to be pulled back in. And this is the biggest time suck you can possibly be in as a founder. And then you start outsourcing these other things. But yeah, I mean, it takes a lifetime to create a vault like this because it's always evolving.
Kyle, thanks for the question there, John. Thanks, Eric, for answering. Kyle asked said, this is amazing. Are you able to share some of these resources?
Yeah, I think the main thing you'll have a video of this, I think, with Midday Connect. And some of these things I'm going to be turning into blog articles quite soon, and we'll publish that on our site for you guys.
Awesome. Parker says, you mentioned how we tend to rely on someone's resume or past experience when hiring. How can we instead learn about their skill set and focus on what they can learn?
Okay, so for operations, a really good thing is called the Big Five personality test. And you're looking for what types of skills are needed for certain roles. So if they're doing something operations, I want their conscientiousness score to be very high because that means they don't make mistakes, they remember things. But if they're doing something more like storytelling, they're going to have neuroticism, or their emotion score is going to be much higher because they can empathize with people. And there's going to be right brain, left brain, that type of a person. You're looking for the person that has the right type of brain. And the best way to do this is, do you know somebody who is a past employee, current employee, or maybe even just a friend where you're saying, gosh, maybe it's like, I wish I had a Jaren Erickson in this type of a role. Go ask Jaren to go take this test. It takes 5 minutes. And now you have a blueprint for, okay, I'm looking for somebody that has these strong traits. And then when you're testing with new employees or VAs, you're having them take that and you're trying to find somebody that matches up in those key criteria. And that's going to be for the really for any role. For management, there's a test that's really good. It's called the Rocket Fuel Crystallizer Assessment. And this measures if you are a visionary or an integrator, and you might not be either. If you're looking for a scale-up CEO, I've seen this happen again and again and again. So the person that replaces you, they're going to have probably an 85 on their vision and a 90 on their integration. As a founder visionary, you're probably having these two roles actually split. So I'm, I think, 94 in vision. Tyler is I think, 95, 96 on integration. Both of us have 60s on the other scores. So we're very, very in our genius zones on there. Donna, who's our scale-up CEO, she's doing a lot more of both of our jobs. She's really the CEO and the COO. And so she has an 85 on vision, which means she's really good at that micro vision. but I'm still leading the macro. And then she's really good at integration. So that test is absolutely amazing when you're looking at hiring out management.
This is awesome, Eric. We're right at time right now, and I have one question. This is more of a um, selfish question. It's a poll to everybody here. Um, if the Midday Connect or we were able to convince Eric to do like a longer session, like a 3-hour case study or build session, how many people would be interested in paying something for to come to a build session, either on this topic or deep diving into something that Eric talked about today? So if you could, and you don't, I'm not making you promise, but I'm just checking temperature because we have had interest on that from other or interest about doing something like that for other speakers. So if you're interested, it looks like a couple of people have said I'd be there. I'd do that. I'm interested in just getting a sense of whether people would pay Eric for his time or pay our speakers for their time to do a longer session. So that's my poll. And then there was another last question while you're answering on the poll. Corey Engel said, are VAs able to help be a sounding board to help map these systems and processes?
So a VA can do anything that you can do. It just kind of depends on what level. Our website has some of the types of levels that you're getting. Typically, it's about half the price it would be for a US equivalent. Um, so, I mean, Taylor has a couple of very highly skilled VAs. Chrisman, I think, is on this call. He runs all of the, I think she's transferred. He was running all the interns. And yeah, he could do processes and systems and a lot of training on this type of stuff. If you're doing something that's in their expertise, then yeah, that's absolutely. But as well, us at Coconut VA, we can help you out with some of these things. If it's able to provide a job for someone and get you running up in your company. So we're going to be doing a lot of blogs and more webinars like this to help everybody replicate this.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. And thanks everybody for being here. Really appreciate it. This was awesome. Hannah will get the recording up soon and we'll let everybody know about that. And Hannah, it sounds like you also have another job of finding a time for Eric to come back when he's doing some of these other blog posts. So we'd love to have you back, Eric. Really appreciate you taking the time and hope you get some sleep tonight. But thanks everybody for being here. We'll see you all next week. And yeah,
Forgot to mention
appreciate it.
if anyone would like a discount, just mention Midday Connect or Taylor Bench when you're booking a call, and you'll get $50 off of a trial period with us.
Cool. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
We'll see you
Thank
all
you all.
later. Thanks.
Appreciate it.